You can.
Okay, tease. We're rolling here. And so I was just proposing to the question of whether hydrogen can be used effectively as a firming tool for intermittent renewables,
Mhm.
and whether that makes sense, if there's a business sense or a engineering sense to that. What do
So,
you think?
yeah, so hydrogen production is inherently inefficient. So what you want is a centralized hydrogen production facility somewhere, um, because it doesn't make economic sense to have them strewn about the country. Um, each windmill having its own hydrolysis system, or so you have to centralize it. So it starts with some transmission losses. So suppose you start with 100 kWh of electricity, you lose like 2 or 3% straight away. So before you start with producing hydrogen, you're left with 98 kilowatt hours. Then you have to have purified water. Water has to be clean, um, which probably involves some sort of um, heat treatment, or perhaps you use a catalyst or something like that, which drops the efficiency a bit. Let's say that you're down to 92 or 93 kilowatt hours out of the 100 that you started with. And then it's probably more efficient to make hydrogen while it's at higher temperatures. So you have to heat it up a bit. Heating, again, is loss of energy. So now you're down to 85 kilowatt hours left in the system. And then you get the electrolysis itself. And there's a wide range of ways of doing it. Some are inherently inefficient, below 50%. Some of them are, have a higher efficiency. They go up to 60, 70, or 80%. So let's take the middle of the road here. Let's say it's 50% efficient. So you dunk another 42 and a half kilowatt hours off your electricity balance, and you're left with 42 and a half kilowatt hours worth of hydrogen. So the next thing you have to do is you have to store it somehow. And hydrogen takes up a lot of volume. It wants to zoom around like crazy. So you have to either liquefy it, or you have to compress it, which is, in both cases is compression, but liquefaction is a higher grade of compressing it. So you lose another couple percent or so. So let's say that you're down to 40%. Then you have the trouble with the storage isn't 100%. You might lose some hydrogen along the way because it's such a furtive element, a molecule. It just wants to go away. So you lose a couple of percent there. And then you get into the generation part again, which if you want to use it as if you want to use it as a chemical agent, so you're going to burn it, then you lose another then you lose another 70% of the energy that's left. So you're down to like 20 or 25 kilowatt hours of the 100 that you started with. Or you use a fuel cell, which basically turns the hydrogen into electricity again by by recombining the hydrogen with oxygen, and you get a you know you get a charge from it. In which that can be pretty efficient, depending on the type of fuel cell that you use. So you may end up having like 30 or 35 kilowatt hours left of the electricity you started with, and then you have to transport it again. So you lose another couple percent. So it's inherently inefficient. And there's loads of other problems do not uh, that people do not take into account when talking about hydrogen. Hydrogen is a corrosive molecule. It wants to eat the stuff that it's in. So if you have a steel canister, that you use to, store the pressurized hydrogen, it's going to corrode like crazy at some point. So we are setting ourselves up for, loads of corrosion, loads of power loss, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't use hydrogen, but it's too inefficient to do what people want it to do. So it's probably more efficient to use batteries actually. I mean, batteries are much more efficient than hydrogen. Um, but then there's the problem with, having needing much more resources to build all these batteries. So in essence, storing energy is generally hard, and it's not an efficient use of energy. Yes, we can use it to balance the grid a bit, but I think it's better to have a firm grid in the first place with spinning reserve than having an infrastructure that is beset with losses, power losses all over the place. So that's my take on hydrogen.